Journalist Sarah Vine from the Daily Mail has reignited the debate around Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's Duke and Duchess titles, and Vine is pretty fired up. In a piece titled, "Harry and Meghan are casting themselves as refugees from a repressive regime, the king should give them what they claim to want and set them free by stripping them of their royal titles." Sarah is reacting to Harry and Meghan's appearance at the Bob Marley movie premiere in Jamaica, and more appallingly, taking photos with their monarchy-hating prime minister. She said, by choosing to break cover in such vehemently anti-monarchist company, the Duke and Duchess appear to be sending a very clear signal to the palace. It appears to me that they intend to use their royal connection to undermine both the individual reputations of members of the royal family and that of the institution as a whole. I hope that I am wrong. Now, here is where Vine outlines Harry and Meghan to a T. She says, by casting themselves as refugees from a regressive and repressive regime, they are tapping into the divisive culture wars that dominates so much of our public debates these days. That is textbook H&M. Flashback to Harry and Meghan starting the race conversation in the middle of the George Floyd chaos, claiming to Oprah that Archie wasn't given a title because of his skin tone, which we now know to be untrue. Upon birth, Archie was offered the title of Earl of Dumbarton. Harry and Meghan rejected that offer. Once Queen Elizabeth passed, per existing protocol prior to the Oprah Winfrey interview, Archie and Lily were given Prince and Princess titles. While I agree with Vine, I often wonder if we give Harry and Meghan too much credit for being diabolical, when there have been repeated errors in their judgment that point to two individuals that rarely assess the consequences of their actions. Was the Jamaica appearance really a blatant slight on the royal family, or a desperate attempt to secure their next gig? I feel like Harry and Meghan are wholly self-consumed, completely oblivious, clearly not worried about what it looks like to be on a low-rent red carpet while the Princess of Wales and King are dealing with medical situations. It's actually quite disappointing to think that with William Morris Endeavor by your side, the best you can do is the Bob Marley premiere. The Markles are likely laser focused on the fact that their Netflix contract is expiring in early 2025. And Paramount/Nickelodeon might be a good home for the Netflix canceled Pearl, Meghan's animated passion project. Sources at the Daily Mail say it was Paramount's CEO that extended the offer for Harry and Meghan's Jamaica visit. We are learning that Prince William's former aide Simon Case was responsible for drafting a key document about Prince Harry quitting royal duties, and these are according to some recent court papers released. So last week, Prince Harry lost his high court attempt to have armed police security reinstated when he visits Britain. He wants it every time he visits Britain. Currently, it's on a case-by-case basis. It was a 51-page judgment in the case revealed that details of the Sussex's department from the royal duties. And, you know, I guess my question to you, Katie, is why is this relevant? Is the story that Prince William was more involved than we knew in Harry's exit, so the rift might be, I mean, why is this interesting to the historians or royal watchers?
Well, we knew that William was part of that Sandringham summit, you know, as was his private secretary, Simon Case, at the time. But I think what it really highlights was that message that came down from the Queen and obviously filtered through Charles, William, and ultimately to Harry, that you're either in or you're out of the royal family. You can't have it both ways. And Harry clearly, even at these early stages of Megxit, when it was still very embryonic and the actual final sort of parameters and agreements hadn't been thrashed out at that stage, had obviously foreseen security as being an issue. And you know, I think that's why he has gone off to the Home Office. He's taken it all the way through the High Courts and is taking it to the Court of Appeal in the hope of overturning last week's decision, which prevents him from having taxpayer-funded royal security. It obviously was something that was very clearly on the agenda. We now know that through William's private secretary, Simon Case, that he was sort of putting that paper together, which determined that that was going to be something ultimately that Harry wasn't going to benefit from. And I think it shows that, from the start, Harry was fighting a losing battle. He'd come up against the institution. He wanted to change things and change the rules. Well, the rules don't bend for anyone, not even for Prince Harry. Once you leave the royal family, you leave the royal family. And if you remember, Kinsey, when he went back to Canada, because that's where they were living at the time, the couple were papped repeatedly. I remember seeing those pictures of Meghan out with Archie in a stroller, on her in a little baby carrier. So, they were papped. That would never have happened, and it didn't happen while they were living in the UK. But of course, they didn't have the protection officers that they had the full support of when they were over here in the UK.
I haven't heard you discuss it, and if you don't feel comfortable saying it, that's fine. But do you feel like Prince Harry should have, the kind of security he's requesting when he comes to the UK? Or do you think it's the case-by-case basis is fair because the likelihood of him getting approved is pretty high?
Look, I think on the case-by-case basis, I suppose if he was still a working member of the royal family, it'd be completely different. If he was coming, even if he was living in America, but coming over here to do occasional duties on behalf of the king or whoever it might be, then yes, in that capacity, I think absolutely he would be entitled and would have a very strong case to have that taxpayer-funded security. But when you've got people like me who pay for the security for the royal family, and while we're never told exactly how much it is because they don't discuss security, it is a huge bill. It's a bill that runs into tens of thousands of pounds every year. Particularly when you see a prince who's negotiated multi-million-pound deals with the likes of Netflix, Spotify, etc., etc. I think the feeling for most people is, well, if he's got that sort of money, he should be covering his own security costs. But of course, Harry's argument is that no one protects quite like the Metropolitan Police and the specialist division that look after royals and VIPs, and that's the service that he's after. So yeah, I think the rule is fair, and I think he cannot benefit from the best part of the world that he's left behind because he is no longer now a working royal.
Katie, I feel like we need a separate section on heirs and spares where we just talk about the most ridiculous story that we've heard, recently. I have to pick your brain about this story about the Duchess of Sussex actually reaching out to the Princess of Wales. This is circulating. It started here in the States, like one of those magazines that you see at the grocery store, a tabloid magazine. I believe it was OK. I'm not necessarily on board with this story. I got some heat this week for saying that the Vegas vixen threatening to leak inappropriate photos of him was wrong. Arguments like Prince Harry doesn't respect anyone's privacy, so why should we respect his? Well, because we're decent human beings, and there's a difference between right and wrong. And leaking photos of somebody that are inappropriate is wrong. I spoke to celebrity attorney Christopher Melcher this week on the To Die For Daily podcast, where he explained that what this woman is doing could be interpreted as extortion. For instance, is she trying to intimidate Prince Harry into purchasing the photos himself to make them go away? Is that legal? I mean, obviously it's not, but it's an interesting conversation. Here's a peek. And, these pictures are from 2012. Is there a statute of limitations when it comes to, maybe that's the wrong usage of the word statute of limitations, but is it ever like fair game that these are my photos because they're 10 years old and they're 15 years old? These are my pictures. Or no, because that's me in the photo. So I can feel violated 20 years from now.
Yeah, I think that the violation would occur during the publication of it, probably not the taking of it. I mean, there could be situations where somebody's illegally recorded and then there's a violation there. We saw some of that in the Britney Spears case where she was, illegally recorded or intercepted, and the statute of limitations on a criminal prosecution, unfortunately, had ran for that, even though she didn't know that this was happening to her. It was too late. So there, the violation happened when the illegal recording was made. Here, again, I don't know, in Las Vegas, what laws would prevent somebody from taking a video of somebody else in the same hotel room. I'm assuming that that's legal. So no violation there, but it'd be the publication of it that would be the violation of the law. And then any attempt to extort money from him would be a violation right now. You're also touching on the issue of ownership of photographs. And we see this a lot with celebrities where paparazzi will take pictures of the celeb and then sell that picture. How can they do that? Well, under US law, the copyright to that picture belongs to the photographer, not the subject.
Ooh.
And it's very, hurtful and confusing to the celebrity because they're cultivating the image. It's that person whose image is being exploited or used to make money off of, and they get no royalties from that. So this is an area of U.S. law that the celebs are upset about, because it's like, hey, if you're going to take a picture of me, and especially without my consent, I mean, yes, I'm in a public place, you don't need my consent, but you're taking a picture and you're selling it for all this money, like, why not share it with the celeb? But legally, that any photographs here that were taken of Prince Harry belong to the photographer, even though he's the subject of that photo. Now, even though they have the copyright to it, doesn't mean that they can use it for these illegal purposes of like revenge. No.
Back in January, an investigation by the Mail on Sunday discovered deeply disturbing accusations of violence and torture of locals in rainforests of the Republic of the Congo by guards managed and paid for by the African Parks charity. Prince Harry was its president for 6 years, until enjoying a promotion to its governing board of directors just last year. The Mail on Sunday exposed first-hand testimonials from locals alleging violent encounters with the charity, forcing them to stop entering forests where they have foraged, fished, hunted, and found medicines forever. One witness, who says he saw a brutal attack by African Parks guards, says that he wished Prince Harry would use his power and notoriety to intervene in order to stop the pain and suffering caused to their community. Prince Harry once said of the charity, "The African Parks model is exactly what conservation should be about, putting people at the heart of the solution." After the original allegations went public, a spokesperson for Archewell told the Mail on Sunday, when the Duke became aware of these serious allegations, he immediately escalated them to the CEO and chairman of the board of African Parks, the appropriate people to handle next steps. In a formal statement responding to the Mail on Sunday's investigation, African Parks said, "We have a zero-tolerance policy for any form of abuse and are committed to upholding the rights of local and indigenous people." Since then, we've seen no real resolution, no action from Prince Harry, and this week, fresh allegations were leveled at the scandal-plagued cause. This is some good background that I didn't have before. According to the Daily Mail, the charity, which manages parks in 12 African countries with 1,400 guards patrolling protected land, almost the size of Britain, claims that it saves wildlife by working with local communities. Keep in mind the working with local communities while you process these latest allegations. New reports accuse African Parks of brutality in Zambia, where locals have the right to sustainably harvest natural resources like fish, antelope, and rabbits. According to the paper, African Parks has managed the area since 2008 in partnership with the government. The charity says it is its only project where management responsibilities are not fully integrated with conservation law enforcement remaining under the supervision of the Department of National Parks and Wildlife. An investigation by the Daily Mail found evidence that in September of 2021, a marketplace was sprayed with gunfire, injuring villagers and innocent children. The suspect's unknown, but I'd definitely file something like this under intimidation. Several locals told the Mail that the market shooting happened immediately after rangers arrested an individual found with antelope meat. This incident sparked demonstrations and rock throwing that damaged vehicles, including 2 belonging to African Parks. Meanwhile, locals within one of Africa's most important wetlands claim they are suffering a campaign of, this word again, intimidation, to stop them from fishing and hunting on their own land while tourists arrive on safari expeditions that can cost up to £5,000 a day and are allowed, free reign. One outspoken villager said, "Our home has become a nightmare that frightens us every day." Another local who was victim to gunfire begged for African Parks to leave, saying they have turned this place into hell. African Park said multiple incidents had been reported to the criminal justice system, and rangers were found to have acted in self-defense due to armed threats from suspected poachers. In a 2022 annual report, African Parks admitted that it had seen a number of unfortunate interactions between residents and the park rangers, which have led to both injuries and fatalities. And this is a guy that wants to make a glossy documentary for Netflix about Africa. The audacity. Actress and not a royal, but she played one on TV. Elizabeth Hurley is doing the media rounds to promote her latest project, Strictly Confidential. And why wouldn't American media bring up the fact that she was once accused of taking Prince Harry's virginity in a field behind a bar? In Prince Harry's Spare, which was released in January of 2023, Harry refers to the excursion as an inglorious episode. He recalled, "She liked horses quite a lot and treated me not unlike a young stallion." He described a quick ride, after which she'd smacked my rump and sent me off to graze. He said, "Among the many things about it that were wrong, it happened in a grassy field behind a busy pub. Obviously, someone had seen us." Prince Harry was vague about the details, calling his mystery vixen an older woman. After the publication of Spare, Elizabeth Hurley's name started circulating around the gossip rags as said older woman. Camp Harry was tight-lipped, but I mean, who would deny a romp with Elizabeth Hurley? Not even me. Then suddenly, probably to the relief of Hurley and the absolute humiliation of Harry, Sasha Walpole claimed in an interview with The Sun that she was actually the woman who took Harry's V card. Sasha told The Sun, "I don't understand why he went into such detail. He could have said that he lost his virginity and left it at that." Of Harry, Sasha argued, "He has done this to my privacy because I was going to keep my head down and not talk about it. If it wasn't in the book, none of this would be happening." Despite Sasha's confession, poor Elizabeth Hurley is still being asked to address the gossip. When Andy Cohen asked Hurley about the rumor on Watch What Happens Live on Wednesday, Elizabeth responded, "That was ludicrous." She joked, "He said she was English, she was older than me, and they were like, it's Elizabeth." It was absurd. It was ridiculous. In fact, she told Cohen, "I've never met him in my life." I guess the lesson here is less is more. Had Harry spared us, see what I did there, some of the details, the world might still think he lost his virginity to Elizabeth Hurley, which is the least worst rumor ever started about the man. According to the Daily Mail, Prince Harry has actively sought advice from trusted former aides in the UK on how to quote-unquote mastermind a return from a self-induced exile in the great state of California. Sources told the Mail Prince Harry is consulting people from his old life as a working royal after allegedly growing dissatisfied with advice from American-based image experts. This is considered the first stage in a strategy to rehabilitate Prince Harry, involving him spending more time in the UK to repair his relationship with his father and potentially initiate a partial return to the royal fold. From perpetual rebranding to rehabilitating, lots of going on here. The Mail also sensationally broke the news that H&M had consciously uncoupled with their 10th Archewell employee. Apparently, Christine Wheel Shermer started working for Harry and Meghan in 2020, shortly after their Freedom flight as head of communications, but Christine boarded her own Freedom flight late last year when she quietly made her exit. A source told the Mail Harry is turning away from all sorts of Hollywood publicists and is seeking counsel from his old friends and associates. He is clearly reaching out thinking, I need to do something different because what I'm doing is clearly not working. In short, he is rethinking the way he operates. This matches up pretty perfectly with an email I got last week that said, one of my sources revealed that Meghan and Harry are going to be working their way around Britain on a PR campaign. Wanted to know your thoughts on it, and if you heard anything about how Harry and Meghan plan on campaigning to change the public opinion of them. My thoughts were thoughts and prayers. I love how the article says at least one of the advisors approached by Harry as a trusted figure from the old school, known for loyalty and discretion. Well, maybe before that article came out. One source told the publication they believed if Harry went back to the UK with zero fuss, zero publicity, and attended very mundane events, he could prove himself and win over the British public again. However, the nearly 10,000 comments underneath the article say otherwise. One user says almost 9,000 comments and 99% of them are the same opinion, that H should never be included in the royal family. There is nothing more to say. Nothing more to say, but plenty more comments. One reader suggested, first step has to be an unsolicited apology and acceptance that his public disloyalty was wrong on every level. Good luck with that. Another comment read, it is not uncommon for individuals who have failed to achieve self-sufficiency to return to their parents' basement. In this instance, the motivation seems to be financial instability rather than a desire to reconnect with family or demonstrate loyalty to one's country. That's pretty scathing. Here's a different theory in the comment section. I think there is a divorce imminent, and she will take him to the cleaners. Yikes. One user writes, I really do not understand why the male writers keep pursuing this idea as it is so unpopular. And if it happened, could be the beginning of the end of the monarchy in the UK. Most of the public, at least, are not fooled by what Harry and Meghan really want, the half-in, half-out role that was refused the first time. This includes taxpayer-funded security, of course. Straight to the point. Another user commented, if he is seeking a purely personal reconciliation with his father, that is up to the two of them. But there can be no return in any way to a public role as a member of the royal family. And whatever happens, he should be removed from the line of succession. Now here's the sassy take. The monarchy has survived for 1,000 years. Some two-bit actress thought she could bring it down. Well, that didn't work out, did it? They will never allow those two limpets back in any official capacity, that's for sure. The reasons I have a hard time processing the idea of forgiveness is because truly since Harry and Meghan have left, it has been a difficult time for the British royal family. They sat down for the Oprah Winfrey interview while Prince Philip was in the hospital. That, you know, shortly after that, the Queen dies. Shortly after that, we find out that the King has cancer. Shortly after that, we find out that the Princess of Wales is seeking cancer treatment. So Harry started this crusade when the royal family was already in a dark place. And it's like that is when he should have said, hey, should I pull back on this because I don't want to do anything that might make their life more difficult? And people say he's pulling back today, releasing Spare without an update. I guess that he's a martyr now for releasing Spare without an update. But I think back on all of the hurt that's happened since then, you know, the Queen passes, Meghan's doing the tacky curtsy in the Netflix series. It's been like punch after punch.
Well, and this is the problem, and what the royal family are so, you know, sad about, in a way, that Harry can't see that, you know, he has just sort of blindly gone on with this, you know, tirade against the royal family, not sparing a thought for the feelings of his family. And as I say, making it all about him. Yet he is convinced that it's not his fault. And I'm, you know, sometimes you do question. He doesn't seem to be able to read the room unless it's being told to him by maybe someone quite close to him that he married. You know, and that therein lies the problem. You know, he got the emotional intelligence to look outside Montecito and actually realize that, you know, these series of events, you know, doing an Oprah interview, and actually then some of it seemingly being questioned for its, you know, bit of clickbait, really, more than anything else, and actually not being what really happened. As we know, recollections may vary, and all the various little accusations here, the little comments, you know, just it's sad. And actually, you know, that I mean, you met the curtsy scene makes me wince,
Mm.
because that to me is absolute Meghan. Well, I know being a traditionalist, she knew how to behave, but it was sort of done in a sort of over the top way, which actually I even think Harry, looking on, was a bit surprised by it. But they kept it in the program, but presumably that's what Meghan wanted. So there we go. They basically haven't thought about anyone else but themselves, and that's the sad fact. And now Harry may be thinking, oh, have I gone wrong? Now I've got to try and I actually am missing what I had before. But it's taken him a long time to realize.
Yeah, and what you're referring to is this story coming out of the Daily Mail, the Mail on Sunday, that says Prince Harry sought advice from his former British aides about plotting a return from the US that could involve a partial reinstatement to the royal fold. A lot of pushback on this online, and the majority is coming from people that live in the UK that say a private reconciliation is an amazing idea, but we don't think we'll ever accept you back in a partial capacity as a member of the royal family. There's real anger when it comes to the idea of Prince Harry trying to worm his way back into the royal family in some way, because people feel like that's exactly what he asked the Queen for. And the Queen said, absolutely not. You can't have a commercial life and continue to represent the British royal family. And even when you look at trips like Colombia and Nigeria, it feels like Harry and Meghan are trying to force the royal family's hand by pursuing things where they still use their titles. They're trying to play the roles, yet they aren't representing the royal family. They're not representing anybody but themselves.
And yeah, they may be representing themselves in the guise of trying to do good. So we can look at the intention. But actually comes down to the fact that Harry is rudderless now. There's nothing. He's done his vitriolic attacks on members of the royal family and had it go. And if he feels that's what he feels, but don't expect suddenly everything to be in the royal garden to be lovely and rosy. It's just not going to be the case. So what he has to do, if he wants to get back to his friends, he has to do it a bit like as we've started talking about, go and do the quiet, go to the funeral, no fuss, no bother. But actually now that's what he's got to do. Little private visits here and there to go and see his dad under, circumstances which there is no publicity, and rebuild trust that way. How they rebuild trust, I don't know, because we do know that Meghan's probably got her own autobiography ready to go here, there and everywhere, and will probably, want to absolutely go for the royal family with all guns blazing. I don't know, maybe, but I'm sure she would like to do one. And that's always overhanging Harry, because he may want to have a rapprochement with his family, but at the same time, Meghan is not showing any indication that she wants to set foot in this country ever again. And the security issue is a complete and utter sideshow.
We love to talk about the royal family. I have so much fun with you when we talk about the royal family. We specifically have really gone in lately on Meghan Markle's American Riviera orchard. Here we are, September, nothing available for sale on her website, and the Daily Express reporting that she's had another US trademark rejection. Just hearing that headline alone, what's your first reaction?
Well, I think the American Riviera orchard saga is extraordinary. I mean, she launched it amid much fanfare back in March. So what is that, 6 months or so? She still has not sold a single item, and that is on the basis that there is not a single item for sale. Nothing has been put up for sale on this extraordinary lifestyle website. We learn that she's been trying to sort of register everything that she wants to sell, right down to sort of whisks and spoons and cutlery and so on and so forth. But there's no doubt about it. This great website that was going to make her a fortune is just not happening. It's not working. Never mind her copyright problems that she's got right now. I think it's a question of supply. It's a question of marketing. It's a question of sales. She hasn't got this business together properly. She didn't plan it properly. It is not in a proper state now. It is almost unique for a business to be launched and 6 months later not to be in business. So American Riviera Orchard may struggle to even ever start, as far as I can see.
Yeah, Kevin's like, it's not going to get off the ground. It's going. I mean, what I love on your show is sometimes you'll just say to me, Kinsey, what's the latest update? What's available on the website? Like with a little tinge of, cattiness, because we know the answer is nothing. Let's get into some of the boring technical stuff, though. She's been given 3 months to respond to the non-final officer action issued by the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Failure to do so could result in her application being abandoned. So as you just pointed out, I'm looking forward to the launch of American Riviera Orchard in 2029. And despite reporting otherwise, through People magazine initially, I believe, Meghan must pay another $700 after failing to pay the correct fee initially. People had reported recently that she was all caught up financially in chasing these trademarks. Another reason why there was a failed bid is this requirement to amend the identification of goods, a multiple class application requirement, and a requirement to disclaim Riviera's description or descriptive wording. Anyone applying for a U.S. trademark runs the risk of refusal because the mark is geographically descriptive and could prevent others from being able to describe their products. I heard a lawyer saying this, like Riviera, American Riviera Orchard. She said, first of all, it's a mouthful. Then Riviera, I mean, a lot of people identify their location as Riviera, so that she's going to come up against that. But like you said, whisks, pots and pans, blatant, the vague term cooking utensils. Jeff Bezos must be shaking in his boots. Like, I've always wanted a Duchess of Sussex soap dispenser to wash away my sins. That's a long list of like random items. Don't you think she's taken on too much?
I do believe that she has. And you have to think, well, why didn't she think of this before? Why is this cropping up 6 months in? This business was not planned. And as you imply there, Kinsey, what Meghan's trying to do is she's trying to run before she can walk. So she's trying to launch American Riviera Orchard as if it's Amazon, a massive company. You can get everything here. Here, thousands and thousands of things are for sale. Look at the Kardashians, the way they sell things. They sell small and fast. They just put a little item on sale and it's sold out very quickly. And if it's sells out, they put it on again. They're very astute like that. Meghan doesn't seem to have learnt from the Kardashians, and therefore this business is not in business. It's extraordinary, and it's typical of Meghan, isn't it? She's a flippity gibbet. She starts something, then she forgets it. So she launched this website. It clearly wasn't ready to be launched, and yet she insisted on doing it. Then what was it? A month later, she sends a few pots of jam to her best friends, 50 of her influencer friends, most of them just chucked it in the bin. Then she sent out some plant-based dog biscuits or something. I mean, what on earth does she think she's playing at? This business is not in business.
The dog biscuits, like within hours after the Princess of Wales announces she's going to be at Trooping. Yeah. It's so predictable. But you're right about the Kardashians, because then after they launch just those few items and the website crashes, that becomes a story. Yeah. They're sold out, that becomes a story. And despite the fact that there were so few items, like if you look at Hailey Bieber's website right now, everybody talks about her new beauty line. She's got maybe 15, 20 products on the website, and things sell out quickly. And that becomes the story, that you weren't able to get your hands on it. And now everybody's just kind of salivating, waiting for the next drop. But I wanted to talk to Maureen about Prince Harry at 40. Maureen, I'm so sorry to do this to you.
Why? First of all, Kinsey, thank you for the lovely comments about my book. And I'm so happy it's resonating with your audience in particular. Secondly, I love talking about Harry, Meghan, all things Montecito. Let's go.
Oh, okay, good. I appreciate your enthusiasm. All right. So as Harry turned 30, he had just left the army. He'd split up with his ex-girlfriend and launched the first Invictus Games. I feel like he had a lot to look forward to. I mean, splitting up with a girlfriend, oh, but at the same time, you know, his opportunities were endless. At 40, it's starting to feel like his options are limited. What do you think?
I think this birthday is going to be very consequential for him. I think, these landmark birthdays, they really sort of prompt in most people a kind of evaluation of where you are in life, where you want to go, how many good years you have ahead of you. I mean, he's officially middle-aged now. And it feels like in Montecito, the walls are closing in. This idea that like Megxit was going to open up their world and they would have this very American life full of opportunity. It actually now seems that his world has gotten smaller and smaller. Every report that I read and hear about, and I'm guessing it's the same on your end, is how increasingly isolated Harry feels in California. His friends, his family, everyone he really loves and has history with is back in the UK. And those relationships he's apparently trying to work on, but it's a very steep uphill climb.
Yeah, and you talk about those relationships. Again, we're throwing it back to his 30th birthday party. So different than the 40th. Prince William threw a black tie party for his little brother at Clarence House. 30 of his best friends were there. They toasted Harry with cases of Highgrove champagne, which were sent by Prince Charles at the time. What does it mean that Harry left this out of spare? Does he fixate on the past? Does he fixate on the bad? Or was he doing everything in his power to make Prince William look bad in that book?
That is such a great point, that he left out anything positive regarding his brother. And he does seem to fixate and ruminate on the negative, or to even cast what could be generously considered concern, such as William in the early days of his romance with Meghan Markle, saying, you might just want to take your time here. You could look at that as great brotherly advice from one of the only other people on the planet who knows the kind of scrutiny you're going to come under, and who might be wary of people from outside their world working their way in. Or as Harry did, you could take it as a prime insult and more ammunition to have an excuse to hate your brother.
It's just so ridiculous. It's so unfortunate because we watched how protective Prince William was of his relationship with Catherine. And Prince William, I love Diana, but I do feel like Prince William was probably emotionally abused in a little bit of a way because Diana verbally vomited all the drama. William knew who Camilla Parker Bowles was when he was a teenage boy. Diana was oversharing with him when it came to the problems in their marriage, and Prince Harry was not that ear. So Prince William did have a different perspective when it came into when it came to choosing a life partner. And you're so right that Prince Harry is immediately feels victimized by Prince William saying, "Do we want to pump the brakes? Do we want should we at least do a formal background check before we start handing over our dead mother's jewelry to Meghan Markle?"
Yes, or see how she really acclimates, see how she really does. It seems that once Meghan was inside the fold and on the marriage track, and remember, the Queen herself fast-tracked Meghan into the family like no other royal bride before.
Hollywood Reporter is pushing back on accusations that they are colluding with whoever to unfairly disparage Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The Hollywood Reporter's editor-in-chief, Mayor Rashawn, spoke to Access Hollywood and revealed additional details about what went into their piece titled "Why Hollywood Keeps Quitting Prince Harry and Meghan Markle." In case you live under a rock, the Sussexes were hit with a humbling article in the publication that magnified the rumors. that Harry and Meghan's management style is less than stellar, creating a toxic work environment. This time, it was Los Angeles sources reiterating some of the issues employees faced at Kensington Palace, saying everyone is terrified of Meghan. She belittles people. She doesn't take advice. They're both poor decision makers. They change their minds frequently, with one source arguing that Harry is a very, very charming person, no airs at all, but he's very much an enabler and she's just terrible. The industry trade publication warns, would you work for Harry and Meghan? Ex-employees say run away. The Hollywood Reporter also said Meghan is absolutely relentless and that she marches around like a dictator in heels, fuming and barking orders. I've watched her reduce grown men to tears. Shortly after the article was published, by the way, it is still trending in the top 3 on the Hollywood Reporter's website, Harry and Meghan went into spin mode. Although, do they ever come out of spin mode? Meghan Markle basically has a PhD at this point, spin doctor extraordinaire. Sources immediately told The Express there were fears among Harry and Meghan that there could be a disgruntled former member of staff who was putting out mistruths, which were designed to make the Sussexes look bad. A source close to the couple told the newspaper the Sussex team have had more than enough of these types of articles. It's simply not true. Everyone is deeply concerned over the timing of the article because it was published just days before Harry's birthday, like he's the Messiah. I mean, it's so what? It's his birthday. Emily and I have talked about the evolution of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's relationship. We did Princess Lily's very first astrology reading, and it was all over the place. It blew up all over the place. So I wanted to get together with Emily to ask her about Prince Harry turning 40. This is the perfect time to reconnect. Emily, let's first of all talk about Harry and Meghan's relationship, because in The Sun, the title is Midwife Crisis, How Prince Harry Has Gone from Spare Heir to Meghan's +1. And sources are telling The Sun that Harry has become increasingly isolated, which you had predicted years ago to me this would inevitably happen. And they say that he's no longer, or he's not necessarily an equal when it comes to Meghan Markle. He's just kind of basically the trophy husband, really great for social media pictures. When she shows up places, people get a picture with the prince. They say his circle of friends has been curated by Meghan. His social life seems to be more and more guided and built by her. Now, we know he's headed to a 40th birthday party with just him and a bunch of guys while Meghan stays home with the kids. I mean, that probably is feeling great when he's usually surrounded by all of these self-made entrepreneurial women in Montecito that, you know, could outrun him, could run circles around him. To be back with some of his old friends from the UK. What is your, what's your gut telling? First of all, I should ask you, explain to new listeners how it is you determine this. You look at the astrology, you have psychic visions. Explain that to my followers, and then tell me what you're seeing with Prince Harry and Meghan now compared to some of the things you've brought up in the past.
Sure. So I look at everything astrologically that's going on personally, and then I also tap in psychically into the energy and make my predictions. So I actually do feel that he is isolated, and I did predict that previously. I had said that he was going to slowly wake up and realize the situation that he had found himself in, but because he does love his children so much, given what had happened with his mother, he really is devoted in that way. He's very much a golden retriever, but also is a very stubborn person. When I tap into his energy, I think that things went so sideways, and he did not imagine that he would be where he is today, given the situation with the family and just how everything has played out.
And do you feel like he's content when he's sitting there? Because the way I describe it is like a G.I. Joe in the middle of Barbie's Malibu mansion with a Barbie, like Skipper here, Barbie there, and My Little Ponies. And it's like this army vet who is used to like shooting things for fun, and you know, just like a guy's guy stuck with all of these women talking about perimenopause and whatever, you know, like I cannot imagine that this is his happy place.
No, I don't feel that it is. And I think that he's been trying to use his voice. He's at North Node in Gemini, and he's had a message he's wanted to get out, but it's become so misconstrued. And there is an energy of, wanting to have certain successes, wanting to use his voice to stand up, but it's not come across in the right way. And he's found himself in a bubble that I don't feel that he's fully comfortable in.
All right, now both of the Sussexes have been hit with a really humiliating piece in the Hollywood Reporter titled "Why Hollywood Keeps Quitting on Harry and Meghan." And the graphic was interesting because it was like, I can't remember the exact words, but it was like Prince Harry with prayer hands saying like, please don't go, and then Meghan Markle like screaming, get out of here. But definitely the tone is that Prince Harry is the calm one and Meghan Markle not so much. But Los Angeles sources, reiterating some of the issues that employees faced at Kensington Palace, saying everyone's terrified of Meghan. She belittles people. She doesn't take advice. They're both poor decision makers. They change their minds frequently. Just so and anyone listening knows, Emily has said that before, that they are poor decision makers and that they change their mind like crazy. They argue that Harry is a very, very charming person, no airs at all, but he's very much an enabler, and she is just terrible. Now, this is like the Hollywood Bible saying, would you work for Harry and Meghan? Ex-employees say, run away. The Hollywood Reporter also said Meghan is absolutely relentless and that she marches around like a dictator in high heels, fuming and barking orders. I've watched her reduce grown men to tears. I want to hear your thoughts when you hear the idea of Harry and Meghan professional separation, going their separate ways. It's almost an obvious observation when Harry leaves for an extended vacation, or I should say an extended excursion. I doubt it's much of a vacation, but he's not with his wife for several weeks. He's doing a lot of old royal looking events. Do you immediately think, yeah, that's a professional separation? Or do you think maybe Harry just wanted to go away for 2 weeks and wanted to do something on his own?
The places he's gone over this sort of 2 or 3 week periods are the things that have meant a lot to him throughout his life. And I think you have to look, well, child, that coming over for this, something that he's worked in for a long time. I'm cool with that. Come over, do it. Absolutely. This is your thing. And the Well Child charity love his support for what he does and him being there. Because we know when, before all this happened, he could light up a room. Now he's going back to Lesotho, some happy place. I think didn't Gwyneth Paltrow call her marriage to Chris Martin, or whatever it was, an unconscious coupling? Maybe they are
unconscious uncoupling.
Unconscious. Anyway, I knew I'd
but I do love it when you drop a Gwyneth Paltrow quote. I mean, it's really truly gives me goosebumps.
Anyway, you might as well. But I'm laying off the gloop or whatever it is. But anyway, or the goop. But what I'm referring to is the fact that I think he does see when he goes to Africa, that is his happy place. And he's done, and going to Lesotho, and the Centabili project, those are things that he was happy with. And I think when he goes there now, he can just be himself, because without question, when his wife is in tow, it's a very different dynamic. And because she can't accept being the number two, even in the sort of, if he's the one, the main focus, it's his gig, she wants to be the number one. So I think it is much better for both of them that they can then do their stuff. And if it means Meghan can then concentrate on America Riviera Orchard, which I still, look, you're in America. I don't know whether you've heard any rumors wherever you see the like of days, but the articles seem to refer that she's working hard on this. Well,
she's working so hard that she had to recycle a dress on Saturday night. She just grabbed some random thing from the closet.
Well, okay, no, I'm nothing wrong with recycling a dress.
If it's hideous, yes, there is something wrong. If it's hideous, you're gonna want to go for option number 2 or hit a Target on your way there.
Well, one of the things is she doesn't always take advice as to how she looks, because she thinks And one of always the accusations is Meghan knows best. Now, she went to this thing. I don't know. That all fine and dandy. Looks good. I think it's probably best for Harry. I think because then he's just being himself again. Now, I think by all accounts, he stayed over for a few extra days, maybe reconnecting with friends. And he needs to do that because at times he does look like a lost soul. Now we can talk about him having his best life in California with his children, with his wife, and a network of friends around them, all fine and dandy. But you still need that sort of old school, your friends around you, just to give you a bit of joy around. It can't all be sort of in California and thinking how wonderful we are. Let's get back out the road and do what he does best. And him going to Africa, him going to Wellchild is what he did best before. And I will give him the benefit of the doubt and hope he's enjoying himself and finding a little spark in his life and bring back that natural smile, which back in the day he had easily out there, and everyone loved his ability to connect. And that's why, the William, Catherine and Harry trio were very successful for a time, because they all looked after each other and did have something about him. Harry was the sort of naughty, cheeky chappy. William knew his role as number one, but Harry brought that spontaneity, which was endeared himself to the British public. If he can reconnect that, then you never know. But there does seem to be a strategy afoot.
Kev, you sent me a great story this morning. Vanity Fair's Tina Brown kind of going off on Harry and Meghan. I want just your general reaction to it, but then do you mind if I read you some portions and then get your reaction to specific quotes?
Yeah, why don't you do that? I have a lot of feelings about this story. Well, you read some of the quotes. They're great.
Perfect. All right. So famed former Vanity Fair and New Yorker editor Tina Brown is making her own headlines this week by saying Meghan Markle's ideas are total crap and calling Prince Harry naive. Brown, also a royal biographer and author of the Palace Papers, previously said that Princess Diana would have been very protective of Harry and anxious about the direction he and Meghan have taken. This is an educated observation, as Tina was friends with Princess Diana. In fact, Brown and Diana had lunch together in New York in July of 1997, just a month before Diana's death. And Brown insists that Diana was never anti-monarchy and that the princess would not have been a fan of Meghan Markle. Now, Kevin, I haven't jumped into the quotes yet, but do you agree with Tina Brown that Diana would have not been a fan of Meghan Markle?
100%, because Meghan Markle is bad for Diana's son. Diana wasn't intellectually brilliant, but she was emotionally brilliant. She would have known that this relationship that he finds himself in is not good for him. It's quite clear. And Tina Brown's comments, I hate to admit this, because I think I'm the master of brilliant phrases, but she has absolutely nailed it, summed up exactly what's wrong with Meghan. And you know what I've been saying? Meghan's no genius. Everybody sort of says, oh, Meghan's the clever one in the relationship. Well, that's not saying much, because Harry isn't exactly Albert Einstein, is he? I think Meghan isn't very bright. She's just a bit brighter than Harry, and she is leading them both down a disastrous path. Do you want to get to some of Tina Brown's quotes?
Yeah, I mean, and you're right, because she also says that Diana would have been thrilled for Harry, that he was happy, but would have felt like Meghan was steering Harry in the wrong direction, a direction that was not good for him. And we should say that she's promoting her new Substack, Fresh Hell. Otherwise, we wouldn't have got these brilliant comments for her. But she said, of Prince Harry's exile in England, they're going to constantly make a career out of trashing Harry. Yeah. But actually, the thing about Harry is he's very good at being Prince Harry. And that's the tragedy of all of this, is that he is the most talented member of the royal family, without a doubt, in terms of being a prince, which is all he does know how to do. Something else you've said. He's really sort of flawless at it. So your reaction to the fact that he's the most talented royal, some might argue Princess Anne is. I mean, she's the only one that actually clocks in.
Well, I'll tell you what, while he was a frontline royal, while he was the Prince Harry that we used to know and love, what he was good at, like his mum, he was excellent at connecting with people. So when he went on a royal visit, a royal trip, an appearance, you know, he really would take the time to talk to people and laugh. And, you know, there was nothing formal about him, or there is nothing formal about him. And that was his skill. So in a way, I mean, he was very good at that. To say he was the most brilliant royal is not true. I mean, if you want to do an intellectual league table of the members of the British royal family, and none of them are geniuses, trust me, William is the cleverest. You know, and I think Princess Anne's pretty smart. Charles likes to think he's very clever, but he isn't particularly. I mean, they never were an intellectually gifted family. But then you have but some of them, like the Queen, you know, when I say she wasn't intellectual, but she was very intelligent. She completely understood what her role was. She completely understood what the royal family was. And she conducted her reign impeccably because she understood those things. And she had a wisdom about her. You know, she knew so many prime ministers, going back to Winston Churchill, for God's sake, to just after the Second World War. And once a week in Britain, the Prime Minister meets the sovereign. So she knew so many prime ministers, and every single one of them, particularly latterly towards the end of her reign, would ask for her advice because she'd seen so much. She'd spoken so often to Britain's leaders, and so she knew where it was at. So she was very intelligent.
So basically what you're saying is Meghan missed a huge opportunity. Like, imagine what she could have learned by engaging more with Queen Elizabeth and by spending more time with her and not rejecting her last invitation to meet with her days before her death. Tina also says, and again, like to your point, I've heard you say things very similar. She says of Meghan with Harry, I think he's pretty much in the thrall of Meghan. The trouble with Meghan is that she has the worst judgment of anyone in the entire world.
I love
she
that
says
phrase.
Exactly. And she's a perfectionist about getting it all wrong. We know Meghan is a control freak, so that is a very important line. She's a perfectionist about getting it all wrong. Her issue is that she doesn't listen. She has all these people, asks them their opinion, and then doesn't follow it. She does what she wants to do, and all of her ideas are total crap, unfortunately.
Which is what Tina Brown said. She says that, her exact phrase was that Meghan is flawless at getting it all wrong. And as you say, she goes on to say, and this is what I mean about, I wish I'd have come up with these phrases. And by the way, I am going to steal them. As you say, she also says she has the worst judgment of anyone in the entire world, which is true. Yeah, and that's why I think, you know, as I say, we've all sort of chugged along on this sort of assumption that Meghan is the clever one. Meghan's very clever, very intelligent. I don't think she is. If she had even a modicum of wisdom about her, she wouldn't have behaved in the way she would. As you said, she would have listened to the Queen more. Megxit, Tina Brown, who does very much know many people within royal circles, she said, interestingly, that at the palace, they always expected Harry to leave at some time because he was so unhappy being constrained by royal life. But there was a way of doing it, and Meghan got him to do it all wrong. And that's why Tina Brown said that Megxit was an absolute disaster. So she also says that Harry has been led along like a child. And that is about the size of it, that he's like a lapdog. What next? What should we do now? Oh, yes, Meghan, let's, you know, and so on and so forth. But
she also says he's really unschooled in the ways of the world. So what is the alternative? If you're unschooled in the ways of the world, I mean, she talks about how this man's never booked a table at a restaurant before. And, you know, she called him a lamb to the slaughter when it comes to Meghan Markle. He was terribly impressed with her. He thought she knew it all. She persuaded him that she was the savvy Hollywood wheeler dealer who could come in and make them stars and all the rest of it. And he just blindly followed her like a child. Just to end these quotes, she said about their future, and this is a conversation you and I had recently, like, where do they go from here? I mean, we're at a loss. She says, unfortunately, Meghan's made every mistake in the book, and she's kind of run out of road. I don't know where Meghan goes. Harry could still, as I say, make a comeback. He'll always be Prince Harry. He'll always be the grandson of the Queen and the son of Diana. People magazine exclusively reported, shocker, shocker, that Prince Harry continued his relationship with the Pat Tillman Foundation last Wednesday by making an unannounced appearance at the organization's 20th annual Tillman Honors Gala in Chicago, Illinois. I actually typically associate Princess Diana with Chicago. She went there for at least one charity event that I know of. And the hotel that she stayed at, they have the Diana Suite, where they still have the workout equipment that she used when she stayed there up in the room. They have like pictures of her on the wall. Of course, it's an absolute fortune to stay there, but such a cute idea. The only reason I'd ever go to Chicago right now, because I bet it's getting pretty chilly. But according to witnesses, Harry attended the entire gala, sitting next to Pat Tillman's widow. Before the gala, he attended a leadership development session with the Pat Tillman Foundation CEO and retired NFL quarterback Jake Plummer. His appearance was a surprise to the 40 Tillman scholars and the 84,120 people that signed a petition for him not to receive the Pat Tillman Award. What's your reaction initially to Prince Harry in Chicago, continuing that relationship with the Tillman Foundation?
Nothing wrong with that. Get on, kick on.
Yeah.
If he's rebuilding bridges, there was this sort of saying, why is he doing it? But actually, that means the Tillman family are happy for him to be there. Yeah. So, and he does put a spotlight on it, and he will understand what Pat Tillman's family are going through, because, he was an extraordinary, as we all know, an extraordinary character, giving up his NFL career to go and fight, which was, it would have been pretty, rare. And then obviously losing his life, but his legacy lives on, and that's fantastic. Now, yes, Harry creates, as you say, 84,000 signed a petition, but I don't know why they bothered, because ultimately, if Harry's doing this under the radar, okay, it's come out subsequently, that's absolutely fine, then that's what he should be doing. More of this, less of the other stuff. And
yeah, I agree. I agree too. There's something that's much more significant about it when we find out about it after the fact. Like when he doesn't have the cameras rearing to go, ready to catch his every move in Chicago. And I'm not. Here's my argument. I'm not. This is in defense of the 80,000 people that signed the Change.org petition. I'm not in any way, shape, or form comparing Pat Tillman's mother to Queen Elizabeth II, the late, God bless her. But my argument when people tell me that Prince Andrew, not proven guilty in a court of law, should be allowed to return to service underneath the royal family, is that I think we should respect Queen Elizabeth's wishes, and she is ultimately the one that took away Prince Andrew's status as a working royal. And it was Pat Tillman's mother who said she didn't feel like Prince Harry should be given this honor. She is a part of the foundation. It's her son. And so, defending the 84,000 people, I feel like it's disrespectful to Pat Tillman's mother, who sacrificed her son to our country. But I understand what you're saying. At the end of the day, he accepted the award, but he's continuing to associate with the organization, which perhaps means it's more than a participation trophy. And that's really what upsets people.
Well, I think that's important, because it did create a bit of a media hoo-ha and stink. Why is he doing this? What's he got? What's so special about him? Why was he a cut above the rest? But if he, sort of took stock of the situation, said, right, the best way I can counteract this criticism is this by working with them, and presumably with the blessing of Pat Tillman's mother in the end, maybe that ward that he's there and he's helping to, we're talking about them. So it does create a little bit of eyeballs on what Pat Tillman's family are doing and the work they are doing. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. At the time, he seems to be picking up awards, which you think, why has he got that? Okay. That does always seem a bit strange. But if post getting that award, he is able to feel, because this is one natural way, now he's living in America, that he can actually make a contribution to American servicemen and women who have, families who've lost loved ones and everything. That's what he did in this country. Then that's a way, perhaps with his, media notoriety, or whatever word you want to use it, can bring a spotlight on it. So I'm going to give him. I may upset some of the viewers here, but I'm going to give him a bit of a thumbs up with this one, because presumably the Tillman family are happy for him to be there.
They're just going to assume you're in the Christmas spirit and you're vibing high, and that's okay. That's okay, Rupert. It's good to be in the Christmas spirit. All right, now we don't have to go into this, but this will be my segue. You know that people are going to point out that it's another Prince Harry event without Meghan Markle. And there's going to be some people that zone in on that particular fact. But fear not, because Harry and Meghan did appear together in a video shared at the inaugural Global Ministerial Conference on Violence Against Children in Colombia, promoting online safety for children. Rupert mentioned this earlier, talking about the video where they're standing up straight, wearing their poppies, very serious face. Now, Harry said in the video, "We are at a crossroads where the urgency to reassess and redefine our approach to protecting children has become increasingly evident. While the necessity has always been apparent, it's now time to translate that awareness into meaningful action." Understandable. Protecting our children online should be everyone's priority. But as you referenced earlier, page 6, in their headline describing Harry and Meghan's first joint appearance in 2 months as stiff, I guess the first thing I would ask you is, I dropped the ball, Rupert. I gave Harry and Meghan credit last week when we talked for not taking attention away from the Prince of Wales. And within hours, their video dropped and people weren't talking about Earthshot anymore.
Well, there's always going to be that issue, but given that the conference was going on in Colombia and that they'd been to Colombia to help promote this conference, there was always going to be a chance that they would be making a contribution to discuss it. You already mentioned in this program the internet stuff that is out there that is hard, around the Princess of Wales. We know that, there is for children. So it is at least something that you feel is not the worst cause to be involved with. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
What they're trying to promote. So I think you've got to give them credit there. Now, yes, it's their first appearance, and it did look a little staged, managed. It wasn't. In a way, it would have been nicer to see them with a more informal video highlighting. It did seem a bit, well, you're going to say this, you're going to say that. There's an element of that. So it didn't have the natural flow. Sometimes you've seen what they've done. Okay, it may have been edited later, but a lot of their stuff does try and show them in a more informal means. This was very much a royal look, if you see what I mean.
It was almost like they were recreating what they did in Colombia, which was very much the faux royal tour. It was like they were putting on that suit again, because that is the way they present themselves specifically in Colombia. Whereas in the States, we see them silly on Zoom, Harry popping his head in, "Hey guys," during a meeting, I totally agree with you. It is like completely different, where they definitely had an objective when shooting that. Yes, a serious topic, but also I think they are trying to take advantage of the places in the world that do consider them still royalty, and they're really going to build off of that, because I think in the UK and in the US of A, they have damaged their brand, and people see them more as reality stars, and they see them in that royal capacity because of the persistent complaining, the persistent secret sharing, the book, the reality shows, and the punchline that they have become in pop culture in the States specifically. No surprise here, but Google recently revealed its most popular searches in countries like the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia. And Princess Catherine cracks the top 3 in all of them, sometimes hitting number 1. The Princess of Wales and Donald Trump were, overall the most searched public figures in the world in 2024. Just kind of a recap of the "where is Kate," chaos. To me, I say no surprise, because for several months people were looking for her aimlessly. she's a good girl. We love that she was searched so much this year. We wish it was under better circumstances, but we love the Princess of Wales, right?
Yeah, I'm not at all surprised to hear that. I mean, she's very, very popular. I mean, she's everything that Meghan, for example, isn't. She's straightforward. She's not duplicitous, genuinely nice person. When she smiles and she's nice to someone, you know she means it. She's not just doing it for the camera. Same for William. There's something real about William and Kate, William and Catherine, that people like. And obviously because of Kate's health problems this year, our hearts all, go out to her. So, and she's endured her problems with, you know, great fortitude and grace. So being ill, we wouldn't wish it on her, obviously, but being ill has only added to her popularity because she's handled it so well.
You're right. I've heard several people say that the rise in her popularity over this, oddly, is significant. Really quickly, I just want to remind everybody that it was Valentine Lowe that told us that recollections may vary, that famous line in Queen Elizabeth's statement. It was Catherine that put her foot down and said that has got to be included. So I credit Catherine to the recollections may vary line very much so. Story number one, Kev, where is Meghan Markle's cooking show? This is a very interesting new piece from the Daily Mail suggesting that they might just can Meghan's cooking show altogether. It might never see the light of day. You and I have both debated whether this is going to be some tag team between Netflix, a retail arm, and the cooking show launched at the same time. But with Polo tanking as much as it has, with Meghan's thin skin, could potentially Meghan's show not come to fruition? I mean, what do you think the reality is there?
Well, first of all, we know this. We were told Meghan's cooking show, which she's already filmed, will be shown by Netflix in the new year, as in next month, January. We were told this several months ago. Now we know, because we were able to see Netflix's schedules, it's not going to be on Netflix next month. It won't be there in January. And after that, I think fairly soon after that, Netflix are committed to showing some Invictus Games stuff. So it's hard to work out when if they are going to put on Meghan's cooking show at all. It's hard to work out when they're going to do it. I can't see it happening, if at all, until maybe March or April. What does all this add up to? I'll tell you what it adds up to. As we say in Britain, Netflix could not give a toss about this series. They do not give a damn about it. Whatever confidence they had left in Meghan and Harry as a TV production duo, as a unit, that was dissipated, that was exploded by the disaster of Polo. Those two they've run out of road. Netflix have had enough of them. We're seeing stories now saying that Netflix executives are absolutely exasperated by Meghan. They're exhausted by how difficult she is. And this is just some woman with no particular track record for culinary achievements. She's not a chef or anything, saying, I'll make some food. You know, Meghan makes food. What are they going to call it? Meg's Meals or something like that. I mean, it's like, so what? It is a so what production that my feeling is at some point next year, April, May, they'll slot it in. No one will notice and it will all go away. It will die. So when she made that series, there was still some hopes that maybe the Meghan and Harry thing could still work for Netflix. Polo has put paid for that. Those two are finished with Netflix. They're finished with television. They've got the film rights to that thing. What's it called? The Lady in the Lake or whatever. Meet Me at the Lake. You know, I don't think they'll ever make that. I think as a production unit, as a production team, Harry and Meghan are over. They are finished. They never knew what they were doing. They never had the skills to do it. They just say it's like sort of, you know, me saying, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll produce a massive movie. I'll produce a really successful TV series. Well, amateurs can't do that. You can't just say, I'm going to be a TV producer. We're going to make smash hit TV shows. It takes people years to be able to perfect those skills. These two arrogant airheads sitting there on the West Coast they think it's easy. It's not easy. They've found out. Netflix have had enough. They're out of here.